Right now, in this very moment, you are carrying something that is more powerful than any weapon ever built. It is your mind. But the sad reality is that most people never use it. Instead, they spend their entire lives handing that power over to other people, to the news, to their own negative thoughts, to systems that were never designed to help them. It's time to wake up to reality. I'll tell you 2 ways people give away the power of their mind without realizing it, and exactly what you can do to take that power back. Listen carefully. Before we get into the 2 ways people betray themselves, you need to understand one foundational truth about the mind. Your brain cannot fully tell the difference between something that is really happening and something you are vividly imagining. Think about that for a second. When you watch a scary movie, your heart beats faster, your palms sweat, your body reacts as if the danger is real even though you are sitting safely in your living room. Nothing is chasing you. But your mind does not care. It responds to the image. When you think about eating something sour, really picture it. Your mouth produces saliva, a physical response to a thought. Athletes have known this for decades. Studies on basketball players found that players who spent time mentally rehearsing free throws improved almost as much as players who physically practiced. Just the mind doing its work. This is not magic. This is how the brain is wired. The mind is always building your reality. Always. The only question is whether you are directing it or letting it run loose. Most people let it run loose, and that is where the trouble starts. The first way people give away the power of their mind is also the most painful one, because it comes from inside. It is called self-betrayal. And it happens every time you allow a thought that weakens you to take root in your mind as truth. Let me give you the most dramatic example possible, because I want you to feel the weight of this. Imagine 2 patients admitted to the same hospital with the same diagnosis, cancer, at the same stage, receiving the exact same treatment. The first person hears the diagnosis and their mind collapses. They think, this is the end. The cancer has already won. There is no point fighting. What follows is not just sadness, it is surrender. And when the mind surrenders, the body follows. The immune system, which is genuinely influenced by psychological state, begins to operate at a lower level. The person stops fighting both mentally and biologically. The second person hears the exact same diagnosis and does something that might look arrogant from the outside. They refuse to accept defeat as their story. They tell themselves, my body was built to fight. Every glass of water I drink is healing me. Every breath I take is working in my favor. Every meal is fuel for my recovery. Delusional? Maybe. Arrogant? Some people would say so. But here is what the research actually shows. People who maintain psychological fight, who hold on to a belief that they can survive consistently, show better immune function, faster healing, and higher survival rates. Doctors have called it unexplainable. A lot of people will say it was a miracle recovery, but it is the mind doing what the mind is capable of doing. The next few seconds are the line between confusion and clarity, and if you miss this, you miss everything. Every time you tell yourself you are bad with money, your brain stops looking for solutions. Every time you say you are not the kind of person who succeeds, your mind files that away as fact and starts building evidence for it. Every time you rehearse failure in your head before you have even tried something, you have already made the outcome more likely. This is neuroscience. The brain has a system called the reticular activating system, a kind of filter that decides what information to pay attention to out of the millions of signals hitting you every second. And it filters based on what you have told it matters. What you believe, what you focus on, what you repeat to yourself that becomes the instruction manual for your filter. Tell your brain you are a failure. It will find proof everywhere. Tell your brain you are capable, and it will start finding opportunities you were walking past every day without noticing. This is why the most dangerous thing you can do is casually accept a weakening thought as truth. Not because positive thinking is magic, but because the mind is always working, always building, always filtering, and it builds with whatever material you give it. I want to give you another example that is going to hit differently because it shows how this process can happen to an entire population without anyone realizing it. This is about breastfeeding. Listen carefully. Breastfeeding is one of the most natural biological functions in the world. The human body evolved over hundreds of thousands of years specifically to produce milk and feed babies. This is not a complicated new technology. It is as old as our species. And yet, in wealthy Western countries, the rates of breastfeeding have dropped dramatically. In the UK, it is estimated that only around 1 in 5 mothers is still breastfeeding by the time their baby is 6 weeks old. Many stop even earlier. And a large number of women report that they simply could not produce enough milk. Now here is the question you need to ask. Why? On the other side, women in lower income countries, who have far less access to formula, breastfeed at significantly higher rates, not because their biology is different, because their belief is different. In many of those communities, it is simply assumed that women can breastfeed. There is no widespread cultural narrative telling them their body might fail at something it was literally designed to do. In wealthy countries, that narrative exists and it is strong. Women are told constantly that milk supply issues are common, that not everyone can breastfeed, that it is perfectly normal if your body does not cooperate. And the mind which, remember, your body listens to, takes that message in and acts on it. The belief becomes the biology. This is not the fault of individual women. They did not choose to absorb that belief. It was handed to them by a culture, by advertising, by a formula industry with an enormous financial interest in making women feel their bodies might be inadequate. The women end up betraying themselves. That brings us directly to the second way people give their mental power away, which is much bigger and much harder to see. Here is something I want you to sit with. Every belief you currently hold was put there by something. A parent, a teacher, a news channel, a social media algorithm, a government campaign, a corporation. Something or someone outside of you shaped the lens through which you see the world often before you were old enough to question it. That is just how human development works. We are social creatures. We absorb the beliefs of the people and systems around us. The problem is not that we are influenced. The problem is that most people never stop to ask who is doing the influencing and what they stand to gain from it. Let me be direct. Governments, media companies, and large corporations are not primarily motivated by your well-being. They are motivated by power, money, and control. Some individuals within those systems genuinely want to help people, but the systems themselves are built around different goals. And one of the most effective tools for controlling a population is to give people beliefs that make them easier to manage. Think about what a weakening belief does. If you believe you are mentally ill and cannot get better without a specific medication, you become dependent on a system that sells that medication. If you believe that uncertainty is dangerous and you need experts to interpret the world for you, you stop thinking critically and simply receive whatever you are given. If you believe that questioning official narratives makes you crazy or dangerous, you silence yourself before you even begin. These are predictable results of specific, deliberate messaging. Now, I am not saying every diagnosis is fake. I am not saying medicine is bad. I am not telling you to distrust everything you have ever been told. That would make you just as intellectually weak, just in a different direction. What I am saying is this. The single most powerful thing you can do for your mind is to develop the habit of asking one simple question before you accept anything as true. Who benefits from me believing this? If a pharmaceutical company funds a study that says you need their drug for the rest of your life, ask who benefits. If a news channel tells you every day that the world is more dangerous than ever and you should be afraid, ask who benefits from your fear. If a cultural message tells you that your body is broken, that your mind is fragile, that you need external help just to function, ask who benefits from you believing that. Sometimes the answer will be, this is genuinely true, and the people telling me are trying to help. That happens. And when it does, you can accept the information with open eyes rather than passive compliance. But often, far more often than most people realize, the answer will reveal a motive that has nothing to do with your well-being. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. I want to address something specifically, because it is one of the most subtle traps of the modern world. Science is extraordinary. It has given us vaccines, surgery, electricity, clean water, and the device you are watching this on. I am not anti-science. Nobody who is thinking clearly should be anti-science. But science is a method, not a verdict. And there is a massive difference between those two things. The method of science is genuinely brilliant. Form a hypothesis, test it, record what happens, question your own results, let others try to prove you wrong. That process done properly is one of the most reliable ways to understand the physical world. The problem is that science as a cultural institution does not always work that way. Studies are funded by companies with financial interests in specific outcomes. Researchers build careers on particular conclusions and have reasons to defend them even when evidence shifts. Prestigious journals have published studies that later turned out to be completely fabricated. The replication crisis. The fact that a huge number of famous psychological and medical studies cannot be reproduced when independent researchers try has quietly shaken the foundations of several entire fields. None of this means science is worthless. It means science is a human endeavor, carried out by human beings with human motivations, and it should be engaged with critically, not swallowed whole. The strongest mind is not the one that accepts everything from authority, and it is not the one that rejects everything from authority either. It is the one that knows how to think, how to examine, question, weigh, and decide for itself. That is a skill. Everything we have covered so far is diagnosis. Now let us talk about the cure. Step 1. Monitor what goes into your mind every single day. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant, it grows. Most people let the news, social media, and other people's opinions plant seeds in their garden all day long without any filter. Start treating your attention like the valuable resource it is. Be selective about what you consume. If a source of information consistently makes you feel afraid, weak, or helpless, ask yourself why you keep going back to it. Step 2. Catch the thought before it becomes a belief. Thoughts arrive automatically. You cannot always control what thought shows up, but you can control whether you let it move in. When a weakening thought appears, I am not good enough. This will not work. I always fail. Do not fight it directly. Just look at it and ask, is this actually true? What is the evidence? Is this my thought, or did someone else put it here? That small pause breaks the automatic acceptance that most people never question. Step 3. Replace passivity with deliberate input. If you are not choosing what to feed your mind, someone else is choosing for you. Read books written by people who built something real. Listen to conversations between people who think differently from each other. Seek out information that challenges what you already believe, not to destabilize yourself, but to test your beliefs and make the ones that survive stronger. Step 4. Use your mind's power deliberately. Every morning, before you pick up your phone, spend 5 minutes directing your own thoughts. Think about what you are building. Visualize the outcome you are working toward. Remind yourself of evidence from your own life that you are capable. This is not wishful thinking. This is programming your reticular activating system to look for what you need, rather than defaulting to whatever fear or habit shows up first. None of these steps are complicated. They just require consistency. And consistency is what separates the people who think about changing their life from the people who actually do it. Let me end with something I want you to carry out of this video. You were not born weak. Nobody is born weak. You were born with a mind so complex, so powerful, so sophisticated that every computer ever built combined cannot fully replicate it. Scientists with their entire careers dedicated to studying it openly admit they have only scratched the surface. That is what you are carrying around inside your skull every single day. And yet most of us spend our lives treating it like a passive screen, just receiving whatever the world decides to show us, accepting it as truth, and building our entire reality on top of ideas we never chose and never questioned. That ends the moment you decide it ends. The mind is not something that happens to you. It is something you use, or do not use. That choice is yours every single day, in every single thought you decide to accept or reject. The two biggest enemies of your mental power are the negative thoughts you let live inside your head unchallenged, and the agendas of outside forces that need you to stay small and unquestioning to serve their interests. Both of those enemies lose the moment you wake up. So wake up. Question everything, including this. Build your own picture of reality from the ground up. Protect the garden of your mind like your life depends on it, because it does.